So a lot of you guys tell me you want to cut opal, but you can't, or you're hesitant to get started because you can't afford a big expensive arbor. And maybe you've tried cutting with Dremel, and trying to cut opal with Dremel is possible, but it can be really, really hard. It's hard to get good outcomes with a Dremel. It's slow cutting and it can be really frustrating. Dremel is great if you're carving, you know, if you want to make opal carvings. Dremel's perfect. But if you want to try to cut cabochons, you really need to have a machine. So what I've done is I've bought the machine that is the most popular machine that's between a Dremel and a big arbor. It's a high-tech machine, and it's an 8-inch slant lap. I am an affiliate for Hi-Tech, and if you want one of these machines, you can use my code 53frogs at their website to get a discount, to 10% discount off of any non-machine items. So here's the machine as it comes here. It's an 8-inch slant caber. I live in Australia, so I've got the 220 volt version. There's also a 110 version for you guys that are living in the States. So shipped internationally, so very sturdy cardboard here. Instruction manual, that's what the machine looks like. Make sure that you get, there are two different kinds. One's rock and mineral and the other one is for glass. The one for glass is for cutting flat things. You want the rock and mineral one because it has soft pads, and these soft pads help you take the facets out of your stones. It comes with one flat 180 grit. This is the disc that you would do all of your shaping with. It's got 14,000 diamond mesh. You can use that for your final polish. That's your felt. This is what you would put the diamond paste, or you could also use cerium on this pad. You've got 220, 325, 1200, and 3000. That's a brown one, so that's your 325. They do give you some irrigation equipment here, how to get your water. All right, next is your backing plate. I'm guessing that you're going to put your pads up on that backing plate. And you always want to cut opal with water, so that's giving you a nice little spray guard there. And some more backing plates. One for each pad there. It's a little bit heavier than I thought it was going to be. Whenever you look at it, it looks like really, really light plastic. I suppose this is going to be your reservoir down here where your water falls, watering your dirt falls. Got a nice little action there. It says we need to peel off and remove the protective film. A little bit tricky. So I just got my razor and kind of like, you know, popped it up a little bit. This is my favorite opal. She's a nice doggy. That's right, nice doggy. I'm guessing we do the same thing here. A little peel that off. Oh, super sticky. Now we're gonna set this on here. So I did that wrong the first time. The best way to do it is to line the hole up in the middle. Once you put it down, and it's extremely hard to get off, so make sure that you line that up correctly in the first place. If you line the hole up in the middle, then it's a fairly easy affair, I think. I'll go ahead and do the rest of these. I've just done 3 now, and honestly, it's a little bit harder than I expected, and just as much as you really need to get that hole lined up exactly right. If the hole isn't lined up exactly right, then you have to take it off, and taking it off is quite difficult. So make sure to get in a really well-lit environment. The other thought there is that I thought, based on, you know, looking at this, that this would be kind of spongy, and it's actually really hard. The part on top is a bit spongy, but it's not like a Nova. One of the other things I've noticed here is that on your list here, you'll have you know, a 220 purple, 325 brown, and then 600 red, and 1200 blue, and then your felt. There's not a purple that comes included with the kit, right? So if you look, there's no purple here, and since the purple is a 220, this 180 is going to be close enough. Even whenever I'm cutting over there, I would make that jump from a, you know, from a 180 up to a 600. Might be something to consider if you You know, if you wanted the in-between step is to pick up a purple one. One thing that you should be mindful of if you've never messed with equipment like this is cross-contamination, and especially with your felt. You want to make sure that no big grit, like see I've got all this grit all over my table, and I might have you might cut a stone, a rough stone. You never want to stick that stone directly onto the felt before cleaning it off completely. If you get any of that large grit embedded in this felt, it'll be impossible to get a really good polish on things. So if you're not used to using felts, always think about contamination and keeping your felt as clean as you possibly can. This obviously has a bunch of people asking you this question. If your water isn't flowing, you need to take your guy here and move him from 6 to 12 and make sure that he opens up. Okay, let's talk about irrigation. This is obviously your top water reservoir. You put the water in here, flows down through your tube and drips onto your surface, catches down here. They obviously have a couple other methods. One like a little pump bottle, like a pesticide sprayer, and the other one like a pump, probably some symmetrical pump that you can hook up to it so that you can have essentially limitless water. I had a little play with this. It's got 2 rubber washers on it, and you'd think one would go on each side of these like it does on a normal saw, but that is not the case with this. There's a little flange there, and this sits on top of it. And they have 2 here because I think that if they don't, this thing would spin freely in there. So you have to have both of them on there in order to lock this disc in. I've put my hand underneath here and grabbed one side and then tightened the other side with my hand here, my other hand. And that's a nice firm fit there. And then once it's on, you can put this flange back on. And you can center it there so that when it spins around, the water catches here and then goes down into the reservoir down below. Now I think we got to set up the water flow system. They give you a hose here, and you obviously fill the water up here. It cuts it here, it goes down into this reservoir, and the output is here. And so you put Mr. Hose on here, and then somewhere down below, we're going to put a bucket. Squeeze the bucket in there, and then as the water comes down, it'll empty into this hose. And like I told you about the cross-contamination, do not reuse this water. It's all going through the same machine here, so it'll go down in the bucket and then feed the garden. I was just about to plug it in to give it a go and realized that although it is 220, it's not an Australian plug. In Australia we have these, and so that's not going to work. Now when you go out to buy the plug, if you're Australian, you want to make sure to get the one that says type F to type I. It's got these little metal grounding prongs in it and has the right size divots there on the sides. And look at that. Now, one of the most important things I want to mention with this machine is that it is very quiet, right? So a lot of the guys that ask me, you know, what's an appropriate machine? I don't want to cut with a Dremel anymore. I can't afford an arbor. How can I find a machine that I can both cut opal with, but won't be so loud that my neighbors complain? This machine is really, really quiet. So I have a lot of people that live in apartments that cut with these machines. Okay, this is all the way up. 60, 61. Water goes into the reservoir. It's pretty simple. We turn them on. So down lower than the water level. And that's good. Looks like we're ready to cut there. It's a lot more powerful than I thought it would be. I thought you would get a lot of drag whenever you put the OPC. Water's flowing out, going down into Mr. Bucket down below. Alright, so that was really pretty easy. The only real surprises there were that it doesn't come with an Australian adapter, and make sure that you line up the holes in the disc. Of course, it does say it very clearly in the instructions that you need to do that, though. Besides that, really quite easy experience. You know.